Kowloon, Hong Kong, Yau Ma Tei District, March 1984, 6 Gao in the morning. Inside a third-floor training hall above a pharmacy, 12 people sit in absolute silence. They are witnesses. Students of Yuen Woo-ping, the martial arts choreographer who transformed Hong Kong action cinema and later revolutionized Hollywood with The Matrix. This is his private facility, entry by invitation only. Future action directors, future stunt coordinators, the next generation of Hong Kong cinema's fighting elite. What they are about to witness will become one of the most quietly discussed moments in martial arts circles for the next 40 years. In the center of the training hall, two young men stand 15 feet apart. Both are in their early 20s, already having achieved what most martial artists spend a lifetime pursuing. Both are about to test each other in a way that will redefine their understanding of speed, timing, and the invisible space between thought and action. The young man on the left is Jet Li, born Li Lianji, 21 years old, 5'6" tall, 125 pounds. He was the Chinese National Wushu Champion for 5 consecutive years, starting at age 11. His film debut, Shaolin Temple, broke box office records across Asia. But in this moment, he is a practitioner. He wears simple black training pants and a white sleeveless shirt. His expression is calm, neutral, unreadable. He stands in a loose stance, hands at his sides, breathing steady. No tension, no visible preparation. He looks like he is simply standing, waiting. The young man on the right is Donnie Yen, born Zhenzidan, 20 years old, 5'8", tall, 145 pounds of lean muscle. Born in Guangzhou, raised in Boston, he trained under his mother, a renowned wushu master, later diversifying into taekwondo and boxing. 6 months ago, he returned to Hong Kong to make his mark in film. His hybrid style blends wushu precision with rapid-fire taekwondo kicks and boxing footwork. His speed is unsettling. His kicks arrive before the eye can process them. He is ambitious, confident, hungry to prove his approach superior. He stands ready to explode, breathing controlled but with an edge of intensity. The invitation for this session came from Yuen Woo-ping. Both young men have been working with him on film projects. Yuen has studied their movements, identified their strengths. Jet Li's greatest asset is economy of motion. Every technique precise, minimal, perfectly timed. Donnie Yen's greatest asset is combination speed. Once he starts moving, attacks flow like water, creating overwhelming pressure. Yuen had been discussing these philosophical differences: precision versus volume, efficiency versus pressure. Someone suggested a demonstration. Could Donnie's speed overwhelm Jet's timing? Could Jet's precision find an opening in Donnie's flow? The rules were simple. Donnie would execute one of his signature combination sequences. Jet would respond. Light contact only, no intent to injure, but genuine technique. Speed and timing were to be real, not choreographed. Yuen emphasized this was not for film, not for audience. This was for learning. The 12 people in the room were told what happens here is private, not for public discussion, not for media. Both young men bowed to each other, respectful, professional. No animosity, no personal rivalry. Just two exceptionally skilled practitioners curious to test their different philosophies. Yuen Woo-ping stood between them, speaking in Cantonese. He explained that Donnie would initiate with a 9-kick combination, one of his fastest sequences. Jet would defend and respond as he saw fit. After the exchange, they would discuss, share observations, learn. He asked both if they were ready. Both nodded. Yuen stepped back, leaving the center floor clear. The 12 witnesses leaned forward slightly, instinctively. The morning light was beginning to filter through the high windows. In the training hall, there was only breathing and waiting. Donnie Yen settled into his stance, shifted his weight, centered himself. His eyes locked onto Jet Li. For 3 seconds, neither man moved. The stillness was heavy, deliberate. Then Donnie exploded forward. His first kick was a low shin kick, designed to close distance and disrupt balance. His second kick came immediately, a mid-level roundhouse aimed at the ribs. No pause between techniques. His third kick was high, a hook kick targeting the head, his body rotating smoothly. The speed was extraordinary. Most martial artists in that room had difficulty tracking the individual techniques. Donnie's footwork was flawless, each kick perfectly balanced, setting up the next. His fourth kick was a switch kick, changing lead legs mid-air, a front push kick aimed at the solar plexus. This is the kick that should have landed. This is the kick that was perfectly timed, delivered with enough speed that blocking it conventionally would have been nearly impossible. But Jet Li was not there to block. He had moved laterally after the first kick, just outside Donnie's optimal striking range. Jet's movement was minimal, efficient, no wasted motion. He was reading the rhythm, the pattern, the mechanical necessities of how Donnie's body had to move to generate each kick. And then, during Donnie's fourth kick, while Donnie's leg was extended in mid-air, Jet Li's right hand moved. Not a block, not a strike, just a touch. His fingertips made contact with the inside of Donnie's knee, just for a fraction of a second. The contact was so light that several witnesses later said they weren't sure they had seen it happen. What happened next became the subject of intense analysis and quiet debate for years afterward. Donnie Yen's knee, in mid-extension, suddenly had its tracking disrupted. The slight pressure Jet had applied, perfectly timed to the moment when Donnie's weight was committed and his balance was airborne, created a vector change. Just enough. Donnie's kick suddenly traveled 6 inches to the left of its intended target. More significantly, the disruption affected Donnie's ability to set up his fifth kick. The smooth flow of his combination was broken. Donnie's foot returned to the ground, but his weight distribution was off just enough that launching the next kick would have required a reset. And in high-level martial arts, a moment is everything. Donnie felt it instantly. His combination, which he had executed thousands of times, which flowed as naturally as breathing, had been interrupted not by force, not by a counter-strike, but by the gentlest possible intervention at exactly the right moment. He stopped. Did not attempt the fifth through ninth kicks. The flow was broken. The demonstration was over. For 2 seconds, neither man moved. Donnie stood with his hands still raised, his expression shifting from concentration to something else. Surprise, confusion, then gradually, recognition. He had just experienced something he had not believed was possible. He had been stopped not by superior speed or power, but by superior timing applied at the precise mechanical vulnerability in his own technique. The room remained silent. The 12 witnesses were processing what they had seen. Some understood immediately. Others needed the next few minutes to piece it together. Yuen Woo-ping stepped forward. He looked at both young men, then spoke in Cantonese. This is the difference between fighting the technique and fighting the system. Donnie, your combination is exceptional. Against 99% of martial artists, it would be unstoppable. But Jet did not try to stop your kicks. He interrupted the connection between them. Donnie nodded slowly, still breathing harder than Jet, who appeared as calm as before. Jet spoke for the first time, his voice quiet, respectful. Your speed is remarkable. I could not have blocked those kicks conventionally. So I did not try. I waited for the moment when your structure was committed. The moment between the third and fourth kick. That is where the opening existed. Donnie walked closer, extended his hand. Jet shook it. Donnie's next words were in English. I have never had anyone stop my combinations like that. No one has ever touched my knee during a kick. How did you see that opening? Jet responded in Mandarin, which one of the students translated. I did not see it with my eyes. I felt the rhythm. Your first 3 kicks told me how your 4th kick would have to travel. The body has mechanical requirements. Structure dictates possibility. Once I understood your structure, I knew where the vulnerability would appear. Yuen Woo-ping interjected, speaking to the room. What you just witnessed is stop hitting in its purest form. Not a block, not a counterstrike. An intervention at the moment of the opponent's commitment. This concept exists in Wing Chun, some Japanese swordsmanship styles, and Western fencing. But seeing it applied against a combination of this speed is extremely rare. One of the students, Corey Yuen, who would later become a successful action director, asked a question. Could Donnie have adjusted mid-flow? Yuen Woo-ping looked at Donnie. Donnie shook his head. Not at that speed. Once my 4th kick was redirected, my base was wrong. I would have had to reset. And by then, Jet would have been inside my range. The combination depends on continuous flow. If the flow breaks, the sequence falls apart. Jet added, Your system is exceptionally strong, but every system has moments of transition where one technique ends and the next begins. That is where timing can defeat speed. The group spent 20 minutes discussing what had happened, analyzing mechanics, exploring concepts. Donnie asked Jet to demonstrate the finger touch in slow motion. Jet showed exactly where and how he had made contact. The pressure was minimal, timing absolute. Donnie tried to replicate it on another student. It took several attempts to understand the required sensitivity. The touch had to be just enough to disrupt proprioception at the exact moment when structure was most vulnerable. Several of the witnesses later described this session as one of the most educational experiences of their martial arts careers, not because of the techniques themselves, but because of the philosophy being demonstrated. The understanding that martial arts at the highest levels is not about who is faster or stronger, but about who understands timing, structure, and vulnerability more deeply. As the session concluded, Yuen Woo-ping made a request. He asked everyone not to discuss this demonstration publicly, not because it was secret, but because out of context, it would be misunderstood. He wanted the lesson to remain pure. Martial arts knowledge, not entertainment. Everyone agreed. Both Jet Li and Donnie Yen bowed to each other again. There was a different quality to this bow, mutual respect, but also something deeper. A recognition that they had both learned something valuable. Donnie left shortly after. Jet remained, working on forms. When asked years later about that morning, he rarely discussed specifics, but he did say that training with Donnie had taught him the importance of understanding different systems, that every martial artist has something to teach if you are willing to observe without ego. The 12 witnesses kept their word. The story did not spread publicly, but within certain martial arts circles, among choreographers who worked with Yuen Woo-ping, the demonstration became a reference point. When discussing the difference between speed and timing, those who were there would quietly mention what they had witnessed. March 1984. Kowloon, a third-floor training hall. 12 people. 2 young masters. 3 seconds that demonstrated a truth many martial artists train their entire lives to understand. The moment when timing defeats speed. When a touch is more effective than a strike. When understanding structure becomes more powerful than executing technique. That morning, no one won. No one lost. Both learned. And everyone present witnessed something that would stay with them for the rest of their lives.